Why is it that the nice guys finish last? Why do liars rise to power, cheaters run empires, and ruthless people conquer the world, while the honest, kind-hearted, and decent folks get sidelined, ignored, or crushed? We're told to play fair, to be kind, to never stoop to their level. But what if that advice is the very reason we fail? One man saw through this centuries ago, and he left behind a guidebook not for tyrants, but for good people who actually want to win. His name? Niccolò Machiavelli. And this is the truth we've been afraid to face. Machiavelli. Just hearing the name might make you think of manipulation, backstabbing, and political deceit. But that reputation misses the point entirely. Niccolò Machiavelli, an Italian diplomat, philosopher, and political theorist, wasn't evil. He wasn't encouraging cruelty for its own sake. What he was brutally honest about how power actually works. In the early 1500s, from the turbulent streets of Florence, he wrote a small but explosive book, The Prince. Not to teach tyrants how to be more wicked, but to teach well-meaning leaders how to survive and win in a world rigged against idealists. His message? Goodness alone isn't enough. To change the world, the good must also learn how to play the game. Here's Machiavelli's hard truth. The wicked tend to win, not because they're smarter or more talented, but because they're willing to do whatever it takes. They'll lie, intimidate, seduce, distract, manipulate. They aren't weighed down by guilt or held hostage by principle. While good people hesitate, debating what's fair, the wicked act without flinching, and they conquer again and again. Machiavelli saw it clearly. If you only use good means to pursue good ends, you're at a huge disadvantage. The bad guys aren't playing by your rules. So why are you? If you want to build a fairer world, a kinder world, a more just world, you better learn how to fight for it. Because those who oppose you, they're fighting dirty, with zero shame and all the leverage. If you don't adapt, they'll keep winning, and you'll keep wondering why good never seems to triumph. So where does this obsession with being nice come from? Machiavelli blamed it on one figure, Jesus of Nazareth. Now before you grab your pitchforks, hear this out. Jesus was, by all accounts, a deeply good man. Gentle, forgiving, peaceful. And how did that end? He was mocked, tortured, crucified, publicly humiliated. Sure, he became the spiritual King of Kings after death, but in real-world, practical terms, he lost, badly, brutally. And yet, Western civilization built an entire moral code around imitating him. We were raised to believe meekness is strength, that turning the other cheek leads to triumph. Machiavelli says, that's noble, but it's also suicidal, if your goal is to change the world instead of just dying for it. Goodness without power doesn't transform the world, it just gets trampled. So let's be clear, The Prince is not a handbook for tyrants. It's a warning to well-intentioned people. Stop being so naive. If you want to make a difference, whether you're a politician, CEO, activist, or artist, you need to understand how the world really works. That means learning from the manipulators, the smooth talkers, the deceivers. Not to become one, but to protect yourself from them and to beat them at their own game when necessary. You want to stay kind? Good. Stay kind. Stay moral. Stay grounded. But also learn how to threaten, seduce, bluff, and fight when you have to. Because if you don't, someone else will, and they'll win. Again. Not because they were right, but because they were prepared, and you weren't. It might feel dirty, it might feel wrong, but Machiavelli says, if you want to beat the wolves, you need to study the wolves. Look closely at how the cunning operate, how they influence, dominate, and bend public opinion to their will. They know how to pivot on a dime, spin a story, and reshape the narrative even when the facts are stacked against them. They are strategic, adaptable, and ruthless when necessary. Meanwhile, the good-hearted reformer, the sincere entrepreneur, and the idealistic politician often lose, not because they lack vision, but because they refuse to get strategic. They cling to the belief that playing fair will be enough. But Machiavelli warns, it's not. He urges us to stop flinching at tough tactics. Why shouldn't you know how to bluff when the moment calls for it? Why shouldn't you know when to intimidate instead of reason? Why not be able to dazzle and distract the way your enemies do? This isn't about becoming evil. It's about leveling the battlefield. You don't have to betray your values. You just need to be effective enough to defend them. Learn from your opposition. Learn from the people you despise. Because ironically, they hold the keys to the influence and power you need to protect what you value most. Being good isn't about being a pushover. It's about being effective. If you truly care about justice, wisdom, and compassion, you owe it to those values to win. And that means doing more than just dreaming noble dreams. You have to make them real. And real change, that takes more than virtue. It takes strategy. It takes nerve. It takes cunning. It takes knowing when to strike, when to wait, and when to speak the language of power to get results. Machiavelli's lesson is tough love for idealists. Stop thinking your good intentions are enough. They're not. They're only the beginning. You can't just hope the world becomes fairer. You have to build it, with your mind sharp, your heart steady, and your tactics strong enough to handle resistance, criticism, and even betrayal. Machiavelli doesn't disturb us because he's evil. He disturbs us because he tells us the truth about ourselves. We don't lose because we're too pure. We lose because we're too proud to learn from the people who know how to win. We tell ourselves it's because the world is unfair. But maybe we've been too unwilling to fight for what we believe in, using every tool available. Good people have the best ideas, the deepest values, the most meaningful visions. But if we don't learn to protect those visions, to fight for them, and to outplay the ones who want to destroy them, then what's the point? Niccolò Machiavelli's message still echoes across centuries. It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. But maybe the real lesson is this: learn to be both. Be good, but know how to be dangerous when it matters. That's not selling out. That's showing up, and the future belongs to those who know how to win it.